All right, man. Just decided to do a quick video. Buy some water. One of them man-made. Pretty cool, man. Um, Pretty cool. So I'm just doing a quick video and stuff. I'm about maybe 30 minutes away from where I was supposed to be at. So I got enough time to try. I'm in the outskirts of Sacramento, so I'm cool. But I just wanted to do a quick video and stuff. You know, um, Man, it is just amazing. I swear that I think these dudes be watching our videos, and this is almost a telltale. And I don't think I swear. I know now. It is just amazing. Soon as I suggested, as soon as I suggested that it's time to make Gary Russell Jr. versus Tank Davis, then out of nowhere, here comes Leo Santa Cruz, who been ducking Gary Russell Jr. forever. Oh, well, let's fight. Okay. How long Gary Russell Jr. been trying to fight Leo Santa Cruz? See, this is just textbook. Okay. Give Gary Russell Jr. Leo Santa Cruz finally so he don't have to worry about Tank. Like I say, this is just so predictable. And this is what I keep telling you, but y'all refuse to listen. Now all of a sudden, they want to make a fight with Gary Russell Jr., Leo Santa Cruz. Gary Russell Jr. been trying to get this fight for years. And if I was Gary Russell Jr., I'd tell Leo Santa Cruz, I'm good. And don't say, oh, well, Gary Russell Jr. is ducking Leo Santa Cruz. Man, stop it. The only people that would believe something like that more than likely would be delusional Mexican boxing fans. And I think in their heart of hearts, they know that wouldn't be true. Gary Russell Jr. been trying to fight Leo Santa Cruz for years. For years. This is just basically another monkey wrench and an obstacle to throwing away from making Tank versus Gary Russell Jr. And this is what I'll be saying. And this is why I'll be going in on those people with the PBC. Why I have an issue with the PBC, because they do this. So for the people that think I'm who's accused me of cooning and all that type of shit, which you guys are fucking idiots anyway. So last time I checked, Gary Russell Jr. was black. So because I know y'all love to try to pull that stuff too. And like I said, you guys are fucking morons. And you really are. You just mad because I tell the truth. See, when somebody gonna start talking about this? Now all of a sudden, Leo Santa Cruz comes out of nowhere. Oh, I want to fight Gary Russell Jr. You could have fought Gary Russell Jr. years ago, but you chose not to. I told you these dudes be watching our videos. I told you. I told you. And I'm not saying I'm the biggest thing out there, but I know these dudes watch my videos. All of a sudden, Leo Santa Cruz, I want to fight Gary Russell Jr. You could have fought Gary Russell Jr. years ago. Years ago, you could have fought Gary Russell Jr. And like I said, if I'm Gary Russell Jr., I say I'm good. I won't Tank. Let me get Tank. Give me Tank. After all, this is what they said. Floyd said, hey, we're not going to make any other promotion company great. We got a slew of PBC fighters to match Tank up with. Okay, well, like I said, Gary Russell Jr. is a PBC fighter, so what's the excuse? They can find some common ground with the weight. So, like I said, this is what I'm saying. This is the problem with boxing right now. Everybody is at fault. Because like I said, nobody wants to tell the truth. Nobody wants to keep it 100. They too busy talking about, this is what they doing. These niggas too busy worrying about Buzz pay-per-view numbers and comparing them to somebody else's. But let's talk about the in-house fight that should be made between two black men. Like I said, I got love for Tank. I ain't got no problem with Tank. Tank is cool. But the people that's managing Tank, they hurting Tank by saying, hey, we're not going to put Tank in the ring with certain guys. Because to a certain degree, it make it look like it's a lack of confidence in Tank. And I believe Tank could beat anybody. I believe Tank got a puncher's chance with anybody. between 130 and 140. But this is what's going on. I mean, this came. I mean, for real, this is just almost textbook. This is almost predictable. And like I said, if I'm Gary Russell Jr., I'm like, man, you could have been fought me, man. Now all of a sudden you want to fight me, man. I'll be like, I'm good. I'm good. I want Tank. Get me Tank. Tank versus Gary Russell Jr. would sell. It would do great numbers, especially if you put it in Atlanta. If Tank doing a solid 200,000, if Tank doing a solid 200,000, according to the PBC and the numbers that they are telling the media, then imagine if Tank fights Gary Russell Jr. Like I said, the DMV is gonna come out to see Gary Russell Jr. And it's a fight that need to happen. I want to see this fight. This is a fight that needs to happen, should happen. Real talk. Let's get this fight going, man. This is just real talk, man. I mean, it is just amazing. Soon as I start talking about this fight, then comes out of nowhere. Man, I'm just saying, this fight need to happen, man. Let's get this fight going. This the fight we need to push for, Tank versus Gary Russell Jr. Like I said, this came out of Floyd's own damn mouth. He said, hey, I'm not matching Tank up with no people outside of PBC. Okay, well, Gary Russell Jr. is part of the PBC. So what's the excuse now, Floyd? What's the excuse now, Floyd, Al? What's the excuse now? You can't try that coon shit with me because Tank is black and Gary Russell Jr. is black. Nice try, though. But like I said, I love shutting these idiots down because, like I said, they don't be knowing what they talking about. They don't be. I'm serious. I'm tired of. I done seen Tank fight enough Mexicans. He done fought 2 Mexicans in a row. It's time to fight a brother now. Okay. I just seen the special yesterday, that special called Kings on Showtime, where they talked about Thomas Hearns, Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Marvin Hagler. Out of those 4 fighters, 3 of them were blacks. And all those fights did good with those guys fighting each other. So how could you sit up there and say black versus black don't sell? But this is the mentality that they have. This is why they mad at me. This is why they mad at me, because I tell the truth. I want to see some brothers fight brothers. You know? I want to see some brothers fight brothers, man. So that's all I got to say. I'll be back later on.